This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Ana Tajder, and today we are making an exception because today you will get to hear only me. I'm sorry. So if you listen to this podcast regularly, you might have noticed that my guests are a very carefully curated group of women who represent global diversity. Until now, I had guests from Tanzania, USA, France, Korea, Trinidad, Nepal, Mexico, Burma, Morocco, Hungary, and many, many other awesome countries. And I felt it was time to find a guest from China. That proved not to be that easy because I learned that some cultures just do not like talking about their private lives. But I did. I found a wonderful guest, Xue Hongyan from Beijing. Now, Xue being in Beijing and me being in Seattle, it took a little while to organize our interview. But also Xue being in China, she explained that they do not like using American communication technologies, which I normally use to record, and that we should do our interview over WeChat. I've never used WeChat before, but I downloaded WeChat only to realize that I cannot record on it. But Xue assured me that it wasn't a problem because she can record on WeChat, which she did. So we did the interview. And I loved her mother's story of hard work and persistence and starting a new phase in life in her 50s. And it really gave me a glimpse into a culture and life that I normally would not, which is one thing I love about this podcast. And after the interview, I had a feeling, and thankfully I've learned to listen to my intuition, and I immediately sat down and wrote everything that I've heard from Xue down, which was good because the next day Xue sent me her recording, and after downloading this huge file for, 2 hours, I was excited to listen to it, and it turned out that it was blank. There was no recording. So this is why today you hear only me. It feels a little strange for me to tell other people's stories, but I did send Xue my notes of our interview and I asked her to approve it. And of course I asked her if it's okay for her if I tell her mom's story, and she absolutely agreed with it and gave me a go. And here we are. So Xue Hongyan is an artist and a professor of industrial design at the university in Beijing. She's married to a German businessman and they have one daughter. I think she's around 2, and they live in Beijing. And Xue started her story by telling me about her grandparents who had a very rough life. They were farmers in China and they went through 3 wars, a civilian war in China, the Second World War, and the Korean War. Her mom's name is Chen, and she was born on the same day like New China, which is 1st of October 1949. Her mother's first husband was mentally ill, so her mother escaped from him, and she only took baby Chen with her, and she left her 2 older sons with her husband. She later remarried and had 3 more children. So Mama Chen was the oldest child in this new family, and she worked extremely hard to help the family out. When she was 6-year-old, she would get up at 5 a.m. to go to the mountains to chop wood for heating and cooking. And after that, she would go to school. And she would take her lunch with her to school. And her lunch would be soup and only broth, which was a leftover from the restaurant her father worked in, and 1 rice cracker. When she was 16, the Cultural Revolution broke out, and she had to go to a farm to work there and got registered at the farm, which meant she wasn't allowed to go back to the city anymore to see her family. So she was one of over 10 million urban intellectual youths who were sent to the countryside in this down to the countryside movement. Now, we all kind of know what the Cultural Revolution was, but here's just a little reminder. It was a movement in China from 1966 to 1967 led by Mao Zedong, the chairman of the Communist Party in China. His goal was to strengthen Chinese communism by getting rid of any capitalist or any traditional elements from Chinese society and to install Maoism as the ruling ideology in China. It was an extremely brutal revolution with an estimated death toll ranging from hundreds of thousands to 20 million people. So Chen met a farmer at the farm where she worked at, and he was 18, and they got married. And they were so poor that they only had one room, one bed, and one chair. And they just worked the whole time. Chen had Xu's brother, and later she had Xu. And through connections, she managed to get a good job, so get off the farm. And the good job meant she was working in a clothing factory 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. She also had a little farm in the backyard with vegetables and chicken and ducks, because having own eggs, meat, and vegetables saved a lot of money on food. And she was also able to sell some of these things, some of the leftovers. So basically, when she wasn't working in the factory, which I don't know what that was, because she worked, again, 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, she took care of the farm. And little by little, they managed to build a house, and they built 2 more houses. And at 50, Chen decided to open her own business and started a shop for children's clothing. This was at a stage when China opened up to small businesses and private businesses. She and Xu would take a bus at 9 p.m. in the evening to arrive at a city that had a big clothing market at 3 a.m., which meant 6 hours on the bus, quickly shop for children's clothes, and then take the same bus back for another 6 hours on the bus. She worked very hard, and the store was successful. So successful that Chen opened 2 more, and she started earning a better and better life for her and her family. Today, Chen is 69, and she helps her children with their children and the housework. She's there for everybody. She's healthy and happy, and also runs farms in their yards. She helps them have chicken and eggs and vegetables. And every morning she goes to the park to exercise. She practices Tai Chi, which I love. So this is Mama Cheng's life. And then I asked Xu about her lessons. And she said, of course, hard work. She also said that she learned that it's never too late to start a new phase in life, looking at her mom and how she started a successful business when she was 50. And then she said, my mom always told me, just stand up where you fall down. There's no choice but to get up and go on. It's like with babies when they learn to walk. They fall down and you tell them they have to learn to get up by themselves, because life is going to be full of situations where they fall and they'll have to get up again. So when I'm in a terrible situation, I always think of my mama's life and her words. End quotes. I then asked Xue about lessons Chen was not able to teach her. And she said, Mama Chen worked so hard, she never had time to think about what's around her, which we can imagine, and how to deal with people. So her EQ is very low. Her emotional intelligence, claims Xue. She said, she never taught me to deal with relationships and other people, especially with my bosses. Xue still has a problem with it, and that's why she's trying to raise her daughter differently. And the latest I heard from Xue was that she is switching to a new university, which means maybe Xue is learning her lesson and learning how to deal with bosses and leave bosses behind she doesn't like. So this was Xue and her mom Chen from China, and they gave us a very inspiring, interesting glimpse into the life of working women in China. And Mama Chen taught us about hard work, that it's never too late to start a new phase in life, and to just stand up where we fall down. A very important one. So thank you, Xue. Thank you, Mama Chen. And thank you, my dear listeners, for always being here, for listening to these amazing stories, and today for listening to only me. Bye-bye. If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyouMama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Ana Tajder, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.